Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about Bog Garden. You know garden. Garden is a particular place that we beautify with the help of hardscapes and softscapes. So in softscapes we use flora and fauna. So I mean the here bog. Bog means that particular place. So what is the special characteristics of that? Bog means the marsh place. So at marsh place, if we are beautifying that particular area, that is bog garden. Bog garden, a bog garden employs permanently moist. So I mean the bog garden employs permanently marsh place, but not waterlogged. Soil to create a habitat for plants and creatures which thrives in such conditions. So two things here. One is the water garden and one is the bog garden. So both are the totally different. In water garden is fully submerged water logging conditions. So in that, if we are planting the ornamental plants, that is water garden, like lotus, nymphaea, water lily, water hyacinth, these type plants. And along that we can also cultivate or we can do the fish farming, aquaculture. That is the totally different. But in bog garden, just we have to create only marsh conditions. So completely moist environment. So in that we have to grow the ornamental plants along with the some creatures. So it may exploit existing poor drainage in the garden, or it may be artificially created using pond liners or other materials to trap water in the area. So it may exploit existing poor drainage. So I mean we can say that particular area. If we have the problem of poor drainage, so in poor drainage, what happens? The water is filled in the capillary part of the soils particles. So we can say one kind of lack of aeration in the soil. So that create the problem to survive the some plants. So in that particular area, that area have the poor drainage. So in that particular area, we have to utilize to develop a garden. And that garden is known as the bog garden. So it may be artificially created using the pond liners. So I mean the width, depth, shape, size, all these parameters we should consider. And in the bottom, we can use the liners and also the other materials. So during the rainfall, the running water runoff, we can harvest and we can store in that. So pond liners will help us to seepage of water and we can store for long. So any such structure must allow a small amount of seepage to prevent the water stagnating. So I mean the in water garden completely we control the water and we store. But in bog gardens with the help of the fork, we have to make the certain holes, and we allow seepage of water and to store the water stagnation conditions. For instance, a pond liner must be pierced a few times. So we can say the in the ponds, or we can say the in water gardens, we use the complete liners to store the water. But in case of the bog gardens, we have to make the holes. We have to do pierced with the help of the pond two times. So that will allow the water slowly to seepage in nearby area or soil, and that will create the moist conditions or marsh conditions. So typically a bog garden consists of a shallow area adjoining a pond or other water features, but care must be taken to prevent water draining from a higher to a lower layer. So in the bog gardens, or we can say the adjoining pond, or we can say the adjoining any water bodies or other features of water, we allow the some water to create the moist conditions. But in this situation, care must be taken to prevent water draining from a higher to a lower level. Then the minimum sustainable depth is 40 to 45 centimeters. So I mean the bog gardens, we have to maintain minimum 45 to 40 to 45 centimeter depth. So that is the around 16 to 18 inches. So good drainage is provided by gravel placed over the liner, and the bog can be kept watered by using a perforated hose below the surface. So that one also a provision. So with the help of the hose pipes, we can allow the water in perforated hose, and we can maintain proper moist, and we can create the marsh conditions. So plants suitable for boggy soils, or we can say the plants suitable for bog gardens. So in these plants which enjoy boggy soil or shallow water around their roots, number one, Butomus, Butomus albellatus, flowering rust. Butomus albellatus, that is the common name flowering rust. Caltha palustris, that is the Mars marigold. Dionia massipula, Dionoia massipula, that is the Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap. So that plant is the insectivorous. So where any insect pass near that plant, this plant is eat or pick up that particular insect, and that insect is digested and release the some plant nutrients. Then Drosera, that is the sundews, Lobelia cardinalis, Lobelia cardinalis, and Lysimachia numularia, that is the creeping jenny, Manianthus trifoliata, that is the bog bean, Myosotis scorpia pioids, that is the water forget me not, Then Usmanda rigilis, that is the royal fern, that is also a beautiful foliage beauty plant that is suitable for the bog gardens. Then Persicaria amplexicolis, that is the red bistort. Persicaria bistorta, that is the bistort. Pinguicula, that is the butterworts. Primula pulve brulenata, that is the Candelabra primula, and Scae Sarracenia, that is North American pitcher plants. Iris pseudocarus, that is yellow flowering plant. So these species or these are the plants suitable for the boggy soils, or we consider for bog gardens. Site location: 5 or more hours of full sun. So I am in that particular place where we want to develop the bog gardens. That place should receive at least minimum 5 or more than 5 hours of full sun. Surface should be flat. A rope or garden hose can be used to mark an outline. So we can see the rope we have to use, in what shape, what size. We have to create the bog gardens. So for marking purpose, we need the rope, or if rope is not available, then we can use the garden hose pipe. So that rope and garden hose pipe we use to mark the outlines, which will be perimeter of the box. Large background plants must not shade out the bog. So we can see the nearby bog garden area. The large plants should not hide the view of bog gardens, and also sometimes it will provide the shade, so that is not suitable for other plants. So we should arrange these plants in that way so all plants can receive the sunlight. Bog gardens also can be placed along the edges of a water garden. So initially I told you bog garden and water garden both are two different things. Bog gardens, just we can see the moist soil, or water garden, it's totally fully submerged water. Okay, so already I gave you an example. So for example, if we are designing any garden, so in garden, water garden is a feature of that garden. So no doubt a nearby area of that water garden is contains moist soil or marsh conditions. So we can say in our garden we can create the additional feature of bog garden nearby the water garden. So on the edges of the water garden, we can create or we can develop the bog gardens. Now layout of bog garden. So you are, I hope you are familiar with the seven wonders of the ancient world. So among the seven wonders of the ancient world, one was the hanging gardens of Babylon. So that was one of the important wonder out of the seven wonders. So the hanging gardens of Babylon are often depicted as tall structures holding vegetation, even immense trees too. Steps of marking bog garden. So I mean the if we are planning to lay out the bog garden as a feature of gardens, then what steps we should consider during the making of bog garden? Step first, marking out. So I mean the first step we have to select place, then we have to mark that particular place. Or we can say we have to do marking of outline of that garden. So in that we have to use the rope or garden hose pipe for the perimeters. Then step 2, dig your bog gardens. So after marking, we have to do digging of bog gardens. Once digging is completed in bog garden, then we have to go for step third, that is place your liner. So I mean the liner that prevent the water to seepage, so we can hold water for long time. That is the other thing. We are making holes or we are doing the piercing with the help of the fork for seepage of water to create the moisten condition or marsh conditions nearby that area. Then step 4, cover your liner. So after placing the liner in the bog gardens, at step 4 we have to cover our liners. Then step 5, plant up your garden. So I mean the in last slide we have discussed the different plant species. Those are the suitable for the bog gardens. So at last, fifth step, we have to plant our plants in bog gardens. So we have to know first where we are to create the bog gardens, what features is there, and according to that, we have to find out which plants are suitable for this marsh conditions. And also we have to find out is or these plants are available or we have to bring from too far. Then other things, if we are bringing from other place, can those plants suit this environment? If not, then you will waste your money. No benefit. So better we have to select the local plants. Mark out your chosen area using string. So I mean the when we will do the marking of the bog gardens. So in bog gardens, during the planning, we must know we are creating that bog garden in the rectangular shape, square shape, oval shape, round shape, or we want to create in the zigzag manner. So according to design, with the help of the string, we have to do marking of the outlines. After that, we will start to do digging. So in step 2, dig your bog garden. So dig out the area, keeping the soil nearby for use later on your bog gardens. We dug out to roughly 45 centimeter depth. So already we discussed when we will do the digging of bog garden area. So dig out soil we have to keep nearby, and almost we can see the depth of that bog garden should be 40 to 45 centimeter deep. So we can see the roughly 45 centimeter, or we can see the around 16 to 18 inches. Then step 3, place your liner. Place your liner on the base of the bog garden. You could use on old off-cut piece of liner if you have one. So we can say the after digging, we have to place the liner on the base of the garden. So if available, then old liners we can use. If that is not available, then we have to bring the new one. Then after putting that liner, we have to do piercing. Piercing means we have to make some numbers of holes in the sides and bottoms with the help of the garden fork. So that should be around, we can say, the 1 meter intervals. So I mean the one hole to other hole, we have to make around at 1 meter distance. So what is the purpose of these piercing or holes? The filled water that should penetrate, seepage out. So that will create the moist environment or marsh conditions. So in that marsh conditions, we have to plant suitable plants. So fourth step is cover your liner. So what we have to do for covering the liners? So cover your liner with 2.5 to 5 centimeter depth of gravel to help drainage. So I mean the liner should be covered with the 1 to 2 inches deep with the gravels to help the drainage so that excess water can drain out easily without any damage. Then replace the soil you dug earlier. Step 5, plant up your garden. So finish your bog garden by planting. Finish your bog garden by planting. Don't forget to add plenty of water, especially if it is dry. So I am in that particular area, we never allow to dry out. If lack of water, then we have to add plenty water. So that will seepage and it will create the marsh conditions, moist conditions. So when we will do the planting, or planted plants can survive well. So that is the important. So in the plantings, we have to only select plants. They are suitable for marsh conditions. Otherwise, due to lack of aeration in the root zone area, these plants will die. So it is very, very important. So plants for marsh gardens. So for marsh gardens, swamp dwellers, plants which love 5 to 10 centimeter of standing water. So I mean you must know what are the important characteristics of that plant. So you can see here example swamp dwellers. So plants which love 5 to 10 centimeter of standing water. Pneumatophores. So specialized roots above water surface. Aeration, hydrophytic trees, mangrove species. So I mean in marsh conditions, if we are growing the plants mangroves, the root systems that is growing under the soil, but sometimes due to lack of aeration, those roots will grow above the water surface or soil surface. So these roots coming out from the soil vertically is known as pneumatophores. The plants suitable for bog gardens, Gunera maniquata. So Gunera maniquata, the huge thick architectural leaves, huge thick and architectural leaves, make a statement at the back of a boggy side, hold the dead leaves or the crown in the Ottoman times. So this is suitable for bog gardens. Then Ligularia. Ligularia have large serrated leaves with a mahogany underside. The tall yellow flower spikes are perfect for adding drama to a boggy borders. Then Gente Deschia Ethiopica. So this is we can say the very suitable plant for the bog gardens or boggy borders, and also here's the beautiful flower. So also we can use in the because especially in the tropical zones, this beautiful plant can be also used as a cut flower. So for a more sophisticated boggy border, try Gentidacia aethiopica. Glossy green arrow-shaped leaves. These are the characteristics or key features of this plant, so you can easily identify. So glossy green arrow-shaped leaves are set off by stately sprays of white flowers with prominent yellow spadices. Semi-evergreen, so cut it back in winter if the leaves die. Taisa minima, Taisa minima. The small reed mace has fine foliage and classic bulrus type flowers. Unlike its large relative, Typha gracilis, the smaller, and Typha minima would not take over wet borders. So Iris pseudocarpus, Iris pseudocarpus variegata. So the upright short-like leaves of the Iris pseudocarpus, Iris pseudoporus variegata are marked with creamy white strips that create the beautiful, what you can say, the aesthetic value of that particular plant or ornamental value of that. So bright yellow flowers appears in May in this plant. Bright yellow flowers appears in the month of May. Though less vigorous than the uncultivated species, be sure to divide it in spring. Then care and maintenance. Care and maintenance. Constant saturation is not needed, but the soil mix should not dry out. So we can say the continuously constant saturation, continuously fully submerged water is not needed, but the soil mix should be moist, not dry out. So when we will do the planting or we planted some plants, so for survival of these plants, moist soil is very important, otherwise plants will dry out. Soaker hoses breed 3 inches below the surface, about 2 feet apart to deliver efficient irrigation is recommended. So I mean to maintain the moist condition or moist conditions, we can breed the perforated pipes, perforated hose pipes. So that should be breed around 3 inches below the soil surface. And from one perforated pipe to other perforated pipe, this distance should be 2 feet apart. So one perforated pipe, another perforated pipe, distance should be 2 feet, 24 inches. And depth should be 3 inches below. So we can say the 1/4 foot. So that is required to deliver efficient irrigation, is recommended to maintain the moist or moist conditions. Gentle hand watering is an option. So hand watering should be done gently to maintain the moisture. And 5-day watering intervals are typical depending on weather. So in this slide, it mentioned that we should do the watering at 5 days interval, but it is not necessary. It will depend what is the climatic conditions, what is the weather conditions, and what is the soil types. So water holding capacity is good, then we can increase the interval. If water holding capacity is poor, then we can reduce. And also in case of the winter is different, rainy season is different, and in the summer hot is different. So dead leaves can be trimmed off about 2 inches above the soil level. So I mean the planted ornamental plants in bog gardens, if you notice any leaves are yellowish or dry out, then we have to trim those off-type leaves, dry or dead leaves, to make the attractive appearance of these plants in bow gardens. Otherwise, it will create the ugly looking. Fertilization is not needed, so no need of any fertilization. So this was your bow gardens. If you need the detailed information about that, then you can refer the T.K. Bose book. Thank you so much. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Rajendra Maurya, and today I am going to discuss about institutional gardens. So, what are the institutional gardens? So, number one, garden, a piece of land. By using the hardscapes and softscapes, we beautify that. So we can say the nearby any institute, if surrounding area, we are beautifying by using of plant materials is known as institutional gardens. So in institutional garden, the institutions include both public or private institutions like hospitals, government and private offices, courts, auditorium, cinema halls, hotels, and so on. So public buildings are often expected to be formal, even and monumental in their design and setting, and they require special aesthetic treatments. So we can say, however, different types of institutions, but particularly for public institutions, we should that garden should be formal in design and monumental in their designs. So proper placement and arrangement of institutional buildings are gaining importance in the modern world. And it is now realized that an institutional building is not complete until the walks, drives, lawns, and recreational areas are properly developed in the compound. So we can say that in any institutional gardens, these features are very important. So without developing these features, that garden is incomplete. So features are walks, we can say the walkways, driveways for vehicles, and lawn area is also important. So in the free time we can enjoy, we can sit on the lawn, and also in institutional gardens a recreational area is also very important. For example, in schools, college campuses, universities, the recreational area is very important, so students and staff can enjoy during the free time. So this is very important part in institutional gardens. So the modern method requires a large area of ground for proper landscape development. For landscape development, open area can be dividing into two well-defined areas. So first, the portion of the ground adjacent to the building And second, the remainder of the area, usually at the rear of the building, should be developed for recreation. So we can say recreation is very important, and we are giving the more emphasis recreational part as well as the lawn area. Other than walkways and driveways is also important part, particularly for institutional gardens. And in the first area, that of public portion of the grounds, the driveways and walks should be primarily structured in order to give quick access from the points of approach to the entrance of the building. So we can see the in any institution, from the point of entrance, main entrance, to the approaching of that particular building, administrative or academic building. So for that, to reach at the parking, we should have the proper driveways, and for the academic building as well as the administrative part or auditoriums, we should have the direct approach by walkways. So these are the very important part. And planting treatment of the institutional ground should be simple. So in institutional gardens, for planting of trees, shrubs, vines, or seasonal plants should be very simple on the ground. So the institutional building is usually large, and hence it is better to rely upon a fewer number of specimens of sufficient size to establish a proper relation between the planting and the type of building. So we can say the institutional garden, we should have the uh, fewer number of specimens or of sufficient size to establish proper relationship between the planting and the building. Or you can say proper relationship between the soft scape and the hard scape. So here soft scape is plantings and hard scape the building. So selection of trees and their location should depend upon the architectural style of the building and by requirements of the same. So based on that architectural style of the building, we have to select the trees and shrubs, and we have to put at proper location so we can enjoy the beauty. So trees and shrubs with fruits and nuts with dangerous thorns should not be used. So we can say the particularly in institutional gardens, trees or shrubs that bears the edible fruits or nuts, we never consider in that garden, and also never use the plants that bears the dangerous thorns, and also we have to avoid the brittle trees. That brittle trees means the those plants they are easily breakable. So development of the recreational area is very important in institutional planning. The recreation area is generally kept at the back of the building, or if sufficient areas exist by the side of the building, this can also be utilized for the purpose. And recreation areas are planted with trees after careful consideration. So this one is the very important. A recreational area is very important in institutional gardens. So use of shade trees is restricted to the borders of the area, away from the land used for game courts and the athletic fields. So game courts and athletic fields should be away from the main buildings. For a playground, however, it is advisable to plant shade trees so that the games equipment can be set up the shade. So we can say the in playground. So if we are putting the some game equipments,